Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian. Welcome once again to SQH Amateur Hour, and I've got a slightly, hopefully, better angle of what's going to go down on this table, because today we're going to be having a look at some Space Quest collections. But at the end of the video, we're going to have something very, very special. Don't worry, it's going to be epic. But first, let's have a look at the official releases. The first Space Quest collection was the Space Quest Trilogy. Now this as the name implies, includes the first 3 games, as it says, 3 great games for 1 great prize. And it's also known as the Otherworld series because that's the very internationally friendly name that this particular collection has. And as the name implies, it includes Space Quests 1, 2, and 3. And inside you will find a shitload of floppy disks. So this has Space Quest 1, 2, and 3, but the Space Quest 1 in question is actually the remake. And I was going to say the VGA remake, but it actually has the 16 color version on it. So you're not even getting the VGA 256 color version. You are in fact getting the separately sold EGA version. Let's see if I can find all the discs here. 6 discs for Space Quest 1 EGA remake. Fantastic. And then the rest of the games, Space Quest 3 takes up 3 discs. No, I'm sorry, 4 discs. And then Space Quest 2 on a measly single little cute little floppy discs. Did I say discs plural? I meant disc. Quick start instructions, and then you've got the manuals inside. Now, luckily they did include the original manual, so here you have the remake manual. Here you have a reference card, which I wonder what kind of game this implies that you will be playing. Oh yeah, so this is actually for Space Quest 1 EGA, although you could say it also applies to Space Quest 2. So this is basically telling you how to move the character around with the keyboard. And then you've got the Space Quest 2 Space Piston comic book, which also includes some manual stuff inside along the middle, but you've got the comic book here, and you've got the Space Quest 3 manual, again, the standard one that comes with the original game. And then you've got something that's just called the Sierra Game Manual, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and yep, there it is. Yes, this is for the, I was going to say VGA, this is for the remake. So it has all the icons and explains how to use icons and stuff like that. So this is what you get in this box. You get the first 3 games, you get the remake of the first one, but not the original EGA version. And to top it off, you get the 16 color version of the remake. So what a bargain, huh? And this was released in 1992, so this came out a year after the remake of Space Quest 1 and Space Quest 4, but I guess they decided not to include Space Quest 4 because they probably wanted you to go out and buy that separately. It was still a fairly new game at that point, came out a year earlier. The next one on the list is the Space Quest Saga. This does include Space Quest 4, but as you can probably tell from the screenshot, this still only has the remake. And curiously, you can't see it from the camera here, but I'll cut in an insert. They actually went to the trouble of recoloring Roger Wilco's hair from brown to blonde, which is kind of strange because obviously they didn't go in and recode the game to make him a blonde in Space Quest 2, but because he is a blonde in Space Quest 4 and the Space Quest 1 VGA remake, let's see if it actually is the VGA remake, they apparently recolored his hair for that. Did they also recolor? No, they did not recolor his hair from brown to blonde in the Space Quest 3 screenshot here. So yeah, consistency is the name of the game here. Let's just see. Well, this time around you actually get Space Quest 1, the 256 color version, which is, I guess, an upgrade of sorts. Got Space Quest 3. Space Quest 4 is also the 256 color VGA version. And that is a grand total of, let's count them, because that is a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 fucking floppy disks. Put that in your floppy drive and smoke it. It also includes an advertisement for the Space Quest Companion, which is a sort of novelization, sort of walkthrough for the first 4 Space Quest games. Future editions of the Space Quest Companion also included Space Quest V, but this collection box was released in 1993, so this was just around the time Space Quest V was coming out. So this one doesn't include Space Quest V, and neither does the collection box. And the Space Quest Companion is absolutely fucking batshit, so I don't know why they called it an official release. But anyway, Space Quest 3 manual, same as in the original box. Space Quest 3 loading instructions. So this is how you start the game. Apparently they forgot to include that in the manual. Space Quest 2 reference card, how to parser. Let's see here, registration card, something else. Attention, due to a print error, some of the information within this technical manual is incorrect. The table of contents is wrong. So they actually included a very glossy little insert here that tells you that the table of contents is incorrect. We apologize very much for the confusion. Sierra Game Manual, this is for the VGA remake, and also Space Quest 4, you know, how to work the icons and all this shit. An advertisement for Prodigy. And they did include the Space Piston manual slash fake magazine from Space Quest 4, but this one is missing its front and back cover, so... And here's the manual for the Space Quest 1 VGA remake. I guess we can call it the VGA remake now. And the manual for Space Quest 2. No Space Piston from Space Quest 2 though. You're just going to have to get the other collection, I guess, or an actual copy of Space Quest 2. And after the release of this bad boy in 1993, we start getting into the CD-ROM era, and we get this fairly lovely collector's edition celebrating Sierra Online's 15th anniversary that guarantees full satisfaction or an exchange of your game, parentheses, games, because this one includes Space Quests 1 through 5 and includes the Space Quest 4 CD-ROM talkie version, but not the disc version. So now you've got all the timer bugs from the CD-ROM version, but at least you've got Gary Owens. So that's pretty cool. It also has the current inside copy mockumentary for the first time, which is fantastic.
Hey, you can't go in there.
I have a gun.
And it says a complete history of the development of this industry-leading series, which amounts to a Windows help file that displays a number of, you know, interconnected. This is what we had before the web. We had these help files that were sort of HTML-ish. In that different pages could link to each other, but obviously it wasn't online. And how do you get this thing open? I guess you just pour it out the side then. Okay, so here is the disc. Very lovely, shiny disc. That's probably reflecting the camera up there. Yeah, it is. And what else we got in here? Enjoyment warranty. That's very, very cool. And everything is now collected inside this little manual here, which also gives you some background on the different versions in a sort of historical perspective, which is actually kind of cool. Although it is mostly how to install and what, you know, how to play this stuff and slight little walkthrough brief walkthroughs to get you started and all that. So this is more of a manual thing. Copy protection, or what irritates you more than anything else. This collection has a great sense of humor, especially this little leaflet. And I used to read this so many times when I was a kid, because this, back in the day, I had Space Quest 6 when it came out in its original box, but I didn't have any of the other Space Quest games. All I had was this collection thing. And it is a work of art, I have to say. It's miles better than any of the other collections, if you ask me. This little leaflet here, important information on the care and handling of digital antiques, has a very cool, oh, there's a little installation instruction there. This one has, in very, very small type, a sort of background information on the development of each of the game. The original Space Quest VGA, they call it VGA, so I guess that is canonical, but I'm still going to refer to it as the remake. Space Quest 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is very interesting reading. Obviously, I'm not going to read it aloud for you. But as far as background information on the development of the Space Quest games, this is a very, very cool little collection thing. Although this booklet, you would assume it fit inside the jewel case, because that's where booklets normally go, but it is actually too wide. As you can see, it covers the entire jewel case. So I don't know why they made it so small, but there you go. There's got to be an easier way to do this, but today is not the day I find out how to do that. Now this lovely bad boy, the 15th anniversary edition, served as the blueprint for literally every other Space Quest collection that came out since. In fact, this one is really just the 15th anniversary again. It even says so at the bottom, 15th anniversary. It does have the back of the box translated into French and German, so I'm assuming this was some sort of European release, but this one was also released in Europe. It has the ELSPA rating at the bottom, which was a very European thing to do. So this one, I assume, is just some sort of box standard re-release, and the front cover really screams budget because they've got the picture from Space Quest 4 of Roger suction cupping Vohal. He's down there somewhere. They cropped him out, but what they didn't crop out was the fucking title from the front of the box. So it says Rippers, and you can sort of see it's supposed to say Wilco in orange letters up here. So this is just, goddamn, at least put some fucking effort into it. And the inside is just literally the CD and a manual, and this bad boy is a reprint of the manual from the other Space Quest collection, but it doesn't include any of the cool little background information stuff that was in the leaflet. The only reason this one is a little chubby boy is because this manual was, again, translated into German and French. So this one is a pile of shit. This one is a little cuter, I suppose, I mean, they've got a new front cover, Roger Wilco Unclogged. I don't know if you remember, MTV used to have this Unplugged series back when they actually played music, and they would invite artists in to play their songs but take away all their amplifiers. So this is sort of a pun on that thing, Unplugged, Unclogged, haha. This one is also basically just a re-release of the 15th anniversary, although in a slightly more impressive looking box. And for a very curious reason, you've got screenshots from the VGA remake of Space Quest 1. You've got something from Space Quest 4 VGA. And then for some reason, they've got an EGA screenshot of the Monolith Burger Clerk, who is just absolutely horrifying to look at in 16 colors. But there you go. Well, let's have a look inside of it, just to be thorough. Now, surprisingly, this one does include the Digital Antiques leaflet, which, again, is a great read, so they upped their game on that one. Installation guide, or stick tab A in opening B. This one also has the copy protection on the back for Space Quest 5. These are all the planet names. And the copy protection for Space Quest 1, the remake. And interestingly, this one has the German and French translations of all the planets in Space Quest 5 because the planets had different names in that version. It was kind of cute. Like Gancularis in German is Influenzaris, and Clorox 2 is called Omo 2 because Omo was a detergent brand in Germany, possibly still is. The startling truth about Sierra, I think I've seen this one before. Yeah, this is just the registration card. Not much of a startling truth, I think. And here we've got the 15th anniversary manual from the original bad boy. And this is just the Imagination Network, and here's some hints. Yeah, this is, an advertisement for the hint line, in case you need it. You never know. And the CD is an actual reprint of the CD that was in the collector's edition. So, as far as quality goes, this one is a step up from Grey Boy over here. But once again, it is just a packaged re-release of the 15th anniversary. Because the CD is literally just the same. Oh, and I should probably pull out some numbers here. This one came out in 1994, so a year after this guy. And this one also says 1994, and this guy says 1995. So now we get into 1990, whatever the fuck. Where the hell? Oh, they put it here at the bottom. 1997. So a year later, they came out with this guy. Now this guy came in 2 flavors. I believe this is the European version, although I always get that wrong, but it does have a British phone number here on the back, so I'm assuming, or is it French? Well, let's just say it's a phone number here, and it is not an American phone number. So this guy is, I'm going to say, the European version, and this guy is the big American box. And I actually bought this when I was an exchange student in 1997 and 1998 as it was. And this one has a lovely little flip cover, which is absolutely, I think this is gorgeous. It does not shelf well. It does not stack up on a shelf very well because it is a wide boy. So just imagine these two guys standing next to each other. You really need to have, you need to have some deep shelves for this guy. But I assume they just wanted you to display it proudly next to the other guy. So you got this guy standing like this, and then the other one. Oh, look at how fancy it is. Now, as fancy as it is, and believe me, it does look very fancy, what they did was consistently misspell Vohal's name on the back. Which I just think is absolutely hilarious. No one proofread this thing. Now, this thing is interesting for a few reasons. Well, one, because it's gorgeous, and two, because it actually includes a preview of Space Quest 7, which turns out to be a movie file, a pre-rendered movie file of Roger strapping a rocket to his back, zooming off for a bit, and then a scroll text. And it turns out much later we got the full story of this preview. It was a hastily put together render because Sierra mandated, hey, we've got Space Quest 7 in production, we might as well show people what it's about. And Scott Murphy and co-designer Leslie Balfour had no real idea what Space Quest 7 was going to be about, other than it was going to be some sort of, let's rescue Beatrice from Sludge Vohal again because we're out of ideas. So they put this thing together, and it was sadly the only glimpse we ever got of Space Quest 7 because, as you may or may not know, Space Quest 7 was unceremoniously cancelled in the Christmas of, was it 97 or 98? Cut in an insert here that actually has the correct information. Anyway, this one includes Space Quests 1 through 6. So now we've got Space Quest 6, The Spinal Frontier, in the collection as well. And that necessitates not one, but 2 discs. And it came apart in my hand. That's okay. I've got another one. And now I'm not going to pull out the contents of both of these. They are practically identical, although the discs look, slightly different. As for manuals, you've now got a single, actually big boy-sized manual that is, once again, a reprint of the 15th anniversary manual, but this time you can actually read the text. Blasting onto your computer in late 1998? Not really. What a shame. Space Quest 1 VJ cover protection, Space Quest 5 cover protection in German and French as well, and Space Quest 6 copy protection. They admitted it this time. But where the fuck is the data corder? Oh, there it is. There you've got the data corder, or homing beacon puzzle. You're gonna need that as well. Then we got an advertisement for The Realm, which was Sierra's online MMORPG precursor. It wasn't really an RPG, although you could get into fights, but it was basically just, run around and have an avatar, a very Sierra-looking avatar, and chat to people and team up to fight monsters, gain experience and gold, if you so desire. I heard it was actually a great thing, although I don't believe we actually got much out of it here in Europe. And then a little advertisement for Interaction magazine, because again, you got to remember this was early days of the internet. This is 1996. It doesn't even say. Oh well, I'm pretty sure it was 1996. 1997. My apologies. This was 1997, so still early days of internet. So you still got people on dial-up modems. So that's a thing. So, as impressive and cool looking as this is again a repackage of the 15th anniversary with the Space Quest 6 CD thrown in on disc 2, and literally just an image copy of the original Space Quest 6 disc. So this guy really set the template for every collection that was released after its release. And then the final collection box to ever get, a physical box, is this tiny little boy. He's so cute, isn't he? Like, let's put him up against the smallest box we've got. That's what we got. He's actually kind of cute. So this is the last physical release of the Space Quest collection. And this time, you don't get shit. You get the games in one. Hang on a moment. CD-ROM. Dude, you would expect this to... it says it includes 6 complete games. Did they manage to squeeze all 6 games onto one disc? I suppose they did. I'm gonna have to put this in my CD-ROM drive upstairs and just have a look at it, because that's honestly kind of impressive. Anyway, probably also a cost-cutting measure, because this is literally what you get inside. Not even a jewel case. You get the disc, and then you get a little paper leaflet that says how to get to the manuals, because the manuals are on the disc. You don't even get a cover for the cardboard box. Like, it doesn't even close. You just have to gingerly put this inside the tiny little outside box here. It makes a frightening noise when you do so. So those are the official Space Quest collections released by Sierra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Technically 7, because these 2 came out at the same time. Ta-da! And the rest of the collections are now online stuff. So now we got the age of Steam and GOG, and this is where you can get the collections today. When was this out? Doesn't even say when it came out. I'll cut in an insert here that actually tells you. Anyway, this has the unfortunate distinction of being the only physical collection released when Sierra were acquired by Vivendi. And that was the snowball that sent Sierra off the map, and eventually brought the entire company down. So this one is dirty, but it was a nice donation from a very nice person, so thank you for that. That's great from the future. Actually, that's not entirely true. There was also this frankly underwhelming DVD slipcase collection that's just called the Classic Collection. Once again, it has the Space Quest games on a single disc and a very box standard manual in it. So that was the last physical collection released, and this one was released by Focus Sierra technically, but well, this was also released after Vivendi bought Sierra and went to shit. Yoo-hoo, yay. All right, let's get all of these guys packed off to the side, because this is when shit gets wild. So recently I was contacted by a very nice person named Randall, and Randall said he was working on something very, very special, and he wanted to send me a copy of it. This is a custom Space Quest collection. Hang on, I'm gonna get it. A custom Space Quest collection that he worked on sort of in his own spare time, at his own expense, and he calls it the Ultimate Space Quest Collection, and I think you can see why. This is a big-ass boy, and it's been sitting in my room looking at me for about a month, and I've been very, very excited to crack this boy open. So, and I'm going to have to stand up for that, so let me just get out of frame here and crack into this, because I have not laid eyes on this yet, and I am very anxious to do so. Now, when you get to the point where you're going to say Ultimate Collection, it had better be ultimate, and believe me, I've seen pictures of what's inside, but I've never actually held it in my hands. This is going to be very, very ultimate. All right, let's get the bubble wrap out. Oh, God, yes. Oh, fuck. I'm going to play with you later. Oh, my God, this is so fucking heavy. Let's crack into those, shall we? Oh, can I just lift this off in one piece? Oh, we're going to have to apply violence. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Come on, I'm gonna apply more violence, because I cannot wait anymore. Sorry, bubble wrap. Holy fucking shit. Dude. It's upside down, don't worry. Look at this massive fucking thing. Damn, son. Oh, the Galactic Archive Edition. I'll have a look at you later. So this thing is absolutely fucking massive. The final word in all space questing, all games, all versions, all Roger. includes, well, every game, obviously, but also digitally restored hint books, full manuals for every game, vintage extras, and digital remastered soundtracks. God damn. So, how do I get this fucking thing open? He said there was, this flap here is magnetic. So, you just lift this fucker up, and shit. Oh, okay, so first of all, we've got Galactic Archive Edition. Nice little jewel case here. Or actually not a jewel, a flip case. The Galactic Archive Edition on DVD-ROM. So this disc should include every single game of Space Quest known to man. And in here, we've got a certificate of authenticity. This is special, isn't it? So, box number 1 of 2. I thought he kept number 1 for himself, but yeah, this is actually, and I hate to say this, you can't get this. Because Randall custom made this fucking thing, and he made 2. He made 2 of these, and this one is mine. You can't have it. So he kept one, and I got the other one. Each box is individually assembled, designed, and finished with care to preserve the spirit of Roger Wilco's adventures across the galaxy. This edition is part of a limited personal collector's release and is not affiliated with Sierra or Activision. Well, let's get into the meat of the thing. Here's a box called Extras, and it is heavy. So this is where all the manuals and stuff resides. So he recreated quite painstakingly all the manuals and hint books as well. These are not originals. He didn't like just take these out of existing boxed copies. Actually went in and, I don't know, sort of redesigned, I suppose, but really just copied the information from the originals and just redid them. And he even redid the thing where you have to look through this little hint finder. Did he make one of those as well? Anyway, Space Quest 1 hint book with a recreation of the graphic of the front. Beautiful. And here we've got the manuals down here, but I'm wondering what this little envelope is. Ooh, my. Interaction Magazine, Collector's Edition, Series number 1. A little ID card. Sierra, dialing instructions. This is the Sierra game card. The pin number is 6858, which is the self-destruct code for the star generator in Space Quest 1. And this basically just has the access dial number for the hint line from Sierra, but it is an actual ID card. You can go like that and ruin your nails. Also included here, I saw those. These are the coupons from Space Quest 1, recreated on slightly thicker cardboard, actually, so they don't break. The original were on, like, normal paper, I suppose. What the hell am I kicking around down here? Oh, microphone stuff. Anyway, recreation of the coupons. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. All right, Space Quest 1 manual. Lovingly recreated. For the original EGA version, also lovingly recreated. A letter to the Space Quest historian from Sierra Online. It even has their old address in Coarse Gold, California. What is this? There's another one. Can I get you out without breaking the envelope? Fucking hope so. Oh dear. Oh dear. Holy shit. It's a letter from Sierra. Dear Space Quest historian, thank you for contacting Sierra. We're always happy to help adventure game players when they get stuck in their quest. Happy holidays, Diana R. Wilson, Hint Department. This is cool, and the paper is authentic as well. This is just like your normal sheet of paper. This is like coarse paper, coarse gold, haha. Because they actually send out mail as well. Like if you couldn't phone them up, they would send out real mail. Is this the same? Oh, this is slightly different. January 6, 1992. Dear Space Quest historian, on behalf of Sierra Online, I would like to thank you for choosing our software products. In your letter, you had some questions regarding hints and gameplay. I will try to answer them as best as possible. And, please call us if you have any other questions. This is cool. I had no idea this was included. So, you've got reproduced letters from Sierra. That is absolutely amazing. Photo frame. or a picture frame down here. What is this? This was something that was produced for Space Quest 6. I don't think it ever got like a physical thing. It's a signed picture of Roger Wilco stuck on you like alien goo. Let's put you down here. You can look at me unwrap the rest of this shit, because look at what I found here. I almost spoiled this for myself, but these are authentic looking cutouts of the Andromedan nose from Space Quest 3. So I have these in the original Space Quest 3 box, but mine have already been punched out. So these are recreations of pre-punched out Andromedan nose and glasses. This is cool. And yes, they are like perforated or whatever you call it. You can actually really punch these out, but I'm not going to. Oh, here we have the adventure window. Slightly smaller one than the original, but I think that'll manage just fine. Let's just give that a check, shall we? Yes. Yes, the adventure window works. As advertised, as intended. A reproduction of the Space Quest 5 Galactic Inquirer on actual sort of newspaper-ish paper, which is, again, just amazing. Damn, you really went the extra mile. Absolutely gorgeous. Space Piston from Space Quest 2 on glossy paper as well. Fan-fucking-tastic. Like the original. Absolutely like the original. Each page lovingly put together. And animated reference card for Space Quest 1 and 2, I believe. Yeah, this is how to toggle CGA and composite CGA and all that stuff. On nice cardboard paper. Very cool. And Space Quest 6 getting started. Now, this was only in the American release. Nice glossy paper. This is it's basically how to play the game, really. But, didn't get this in Europe. Space Quest 4 Space Piston magazine. Damn. Pristine, right? And with the nice centerfold of the three-breasted editor of Space Piston. Sanitation Hotspots, the Space Quest 6 fake magazine. Again, just absolutely beautiful. Almost indistinguishable from the original. I mean, it feels the same, it looks the same. I mean, the only things that give it away is like the margins here. There's a bit of white here. The color doesn't go all the way to the edge, but am I complaining? No. And Space Quest 3 manual. Absolutely stunning. Holy shit, you went the extra mile, didn't you? All right, I'm going to put this to the side because we are not done yet. Apparently this lifts out. And underneath here, we've got original soundtracks. Space Quest 1, Space Quest 2, Space Quest 3. The Space Quest 1 soundtrack is the VGA version soundtrack on a lovely CD. You see the track listing on the back has all of these tracks here, so those are VGA. Space Quest 2 has, well, Space Quest 2 music, Volhol's theme, Bees, Death. Oh God, this is so cool. Space Quest 3. Oh! Original soundtrack by Bob Siebenberg, reorchestrated and remastered by me. So this is the remastered soundtrack that we did yonks ago that we put out on vinyl. Oh, and these I didn't even check the booklets. These are fold out. I thought they were just a single sheet of paper, but no, they open up. It's even got the mouse cursor in there and recreations. These are not screenshots. You got the aluminum mallet redrawn, and Monolith Burger and the Enterprise docked there, also redrawn. Holy shit. But we are not done yet. Down here we've also got Space Quest 4, Space Quest 5, and Space Quest 6 original soundtracks. Is this also my... Yeah, this is also my reorchestration. Holy crap. Nice CD art as well. I open up this bad boy to reveal the Macmethius bar with a track list. Oh, that is beautiful. I realize I'm saying the word beautiful a lot, but that's because it is. All right, Space Quest 5 original soundtrack, reorchestrated by some idiot. Oh, it's got the elevator shaft from from Space Quest 5. My least favorite part of the game. Ah, the Goliath with the little EVA pod zooming towards it. Very cool. See, I avoided saying beautiful. And Space Quest 6, also my reorchestration. And the disc image is a redraw of the Space Quest 6 front cover. This actually looks printed. Doesn't even look like a CDR. And we've got Sad Roger on the inside. So that is, I'm not gonna say beautiful, I'm gonna say freaking awesome. All right, lift this bad boy up because we're not done yet. Down here, we've got a larger than fucking live book called The Adventures of Roger Wilco Collection. I'm going to assume, even before I open it up, that these are reproductions of the Space Quest comic books, and hot fucking damn they are. And if you didn't know, Space Quest had 3 comic books released by Malibu Graphic, a subsidiary of Marvel Comics, actually. And these are all 3 issues in one fabulous looking book. So, comic books, goddamn. Also, we've got, holy crap, we've got the Space Quest companion in here. Come on out, come here. Holy shit. This thing is massive. And it is the entire goddamn book. Well, obviously it is. He's not like he's going to reprint page 1 to page 14 and then leave the rest of them blank. No, this is the entire, but this is like, how many pages? 440, I'm just going to round up, 440 pages of this. Hot diggity daffodil. Damn. And down here, oh, see, I knew he was going to do this. I'm a little embarrassed because the contents of this is frankly quite terrible, but this is really, it's also kind of cool, honestly. This is the novelization of Space Quest 1 that I wrote as a 17-year-old high school student. Yes, it is a full novelization. It's also quite terrible. You can tell it was written by a 17-year-old, but dear God, it is the full novel. I mean novel as in it's, what, how many pages? Like 70, I was just going to say, 80. I don't even have to round up. That is literally the last page, 80. I fucking love that he did this. It's so amazing. I am really hoping no one ever reads this. But yeah, this is so great. This is the first like physical copy of something I've written, at least in long form, that I've ever held in my hands. That's got to be it, right? You can't possibly fit any more shit into this thing, can you? No, that is it. But check out the inside of the box. Oh, shit. The inside of the box is, well, you can't feel it, and it is all black, so it probably doesn't show up on camera very well either, but the inside of the box is felt. I mean, it is soft, and oh, it's soft and cuddly to the touch. Which means this is going to last for a very, very long time. Because there's no way I can just go out and get another one, because, again, there are only 2 of these boxes in existence. And Randall has the other one. I'm going to try not to hurt this thing when I put it in. Put you in here very carefully, and I'll set you aside, because we still haven't figured out what's inside this guy. To hell with bubble wrap. I want to get in and have a look at this. This is also a fairly big box that is the Leisure Suit Larry Magnum XXL collection. Oh, I forgot he was going to send this one as well. It's a bonus content. Right, so that is it. The Ultimate Space Quest Collection box. And I do mean ultimate. Now, as I said, Randall made this box, the Space Quest Collection box, for me, and the only other one is in his custody. But Randall has also made a lot of boxed copies, big box copies of indie games like Unavowed and Lamplight City and a bunch of other games, just for his own personal collection. Like, it's not, he's not making money off of these. He's making these because he really likes physical editions, and also because limited run games can get fucked. But he is actually planning to sort of make a little business out of this by offering indie developers, if they want to have big box copies made, or odd-sized boxes made, or like really cool special edition physical boxes made. He is starting up a little side hustle, I should say, of that kind of thing. So if indie developers want to get in on the fun, they can contact him and, get some stuff made. Now, again, I must stress, these, the Space Quest and the Larry box, and he's also working on a Laura Bow 2 box, I believe, are not made for profit. He's not selling them. He's not making any more of them. Sorry. They're just for his personal enjoyment and now mine. But he is open to have indie developers who want big box copies made of their games made available. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Randall, for this stuff. Take care, and I'll see you around the Chrono stream. Bye.
What's this?
That is a photo.